Very often e-commerce is thought of nothing more than putting together a few HTML pages, nicely done, with a shopping cart integrated. You just go to one of the payment gateway providers, everything is integrated, and voila, the moolah should start flowing in immediately. Nothing could be farther from that. I think one of the significant messages that we have seen, and coming from ICICI Merchant Services and First Data, we deal with a lot of e-commerce merchants, both at the early startup stage, as well as when the entire business model has matured. And we have seen a lot of websites flourishing because they had the core value propositions in place, and there have been very strong budding websites, which did not have compelling propositions on hand, and they just collapsed. So I think one of the foremost things that must be brought to the table in instilling confidence amongst the e-commerce customers is what is the kind of value that the stakeholders are looking at. From early year 2000, when everything was more about informational, it was unidirectional. You would just log onto a website to see what information exists, to making the website more interactional, wherein you would actually be able to interface with the website. You'll be able to pose your questions. The entire website was more data-driven. You had choice. You could do sort and search. And then, of course, it moved to transactional, which is where the face of the entire e-commerce business looks today. So when we speak about instilling confidence amongst the merchants, and I did make it a point to look up to the dictionary and say that what does the word confidence mean to each one of us, what are the kind of images that it conjures up, right? It conjures up the images of reassurance, quality, trust, feeling secure about something. So when you're feeling secure about something, you feel confident about it, right? When you're confident about it, you have the belief in that particular product or service, and it conjures up a very, very positive imagery. So I think the context with this presentation that we want to give about is that instilling confidence on e-commerce is not only about what the payment concerns or what the payment infrastructure would look about, but it's also about what is the face that we're presenting to the customers. It's to be treated as no different than a physical store, wherein you would have the best of the architects to do the facade. You would have the best of the people doing up your window shows and all those things ahead of Christmas or New Year's. And just as you would not compromise on making all those beautifications on your physical store, why would you compromise on the website? Mahesh also alluded to a point of very frequently refreshing the website to have a fresh appeal, and you never know, all of these things can add to significant increases in the sales itself, right? In a physical store, these are called hotspots, where a customer does not typically go. So what the retailers do is they realign the shelves so that people have a better view of all the merchandise which is lined up in the store. This is exactly the same as an e-commerce would speak about. Now, these are the things that you need not invest your time and energy on. You should focus on building a business, but having the right partner can take away a lot of these anxieties and a lot of these myths that you might be carrying on account of the payment gateways and how they are or they are not helping the business grow. So with this, I think it set the context for the discussion, and this again is all about having the right team, having the right website, investing in the right supply chain. Just a quick update in the interest of time.
So just shifting the discussion a bit, if you look at the consumers who are transacting online, there's a term in marketing called post-purchase dissonance, right? So when you decide to buy a thing, until you actually go through the whole cycle, there are various doubts in your mind. I believe in the online world, post-purchase dissonance is very high right now in India. And if you look at the life cycle of a transaction, basically a transaction is completed when a good has been delivered and the payment has been received by the merchant. So the popularity of cash on delivery speaks to the fact that the purchase dissonance is very high, and all the players in the online industry need to figure out ways of reducing it, right? So that would be my thoughts.
It is not only about the different payment options what is available, it is also about the merchant presenting themselves very properly to the consumers, which helps them to create a confidence in their buying through all the payment options which is available. As he told, cash on delivery is a viable option. In my view, it is still picking up because the consumer wants to see the product in his hand before he paying the money. It means there is somewhere the merchant can do something in increasing the confidence in they getting the money which is upfront, which helps him to reduce the cost of 120, 140 rupees, which he spends more in he delivering the order through cash on delivery.
Okay. As a payment service provider to merchants, I come with a perspective for this conference on, trying to unravel some of the knots that are linked to the concept of online payments. First, I'll try and bust a couple of myths about online payments, and then, address the issues about creating value. Myth number one, of course, is that paying online is not safe, right? That's the general belief among consumers. The fact of the matter is that if you have an iota of common sense when you're doing an online transaction, paying online is very safe, simply because if you're entering your credit card details or your bank details on credit card details on a specific page which is safe, that the entire data is encrypted and sent across. You need to be a very, very highly qualified technical guy to decrypt what is, and crack that. So the data during transfer is fairly safe. So where does that leave it? They leave the risk in the fact that is the website where you're putting in the number safe or not. So for which you need to verify who the website is and ensure that it's a genuine merchant who's actually where you're doing the transaction. When it comes to a payment for a bank account, obviously the entry has to be done on a bank page and not on a merchant's page. So it's fairly safe online. So then why is there so much hype and there's so much issues about the feeling that consumers have that online payments are not safe? Very, very simple that, till recently, offline payments is the root cause of, issues related to online payments. It's almost like, there's a fire in Mumbai and the Delhiites are blamed. The problem is that loose practices in the offline space is what creates a database of card numbers to be used in the online space. The very fact that card not present means basically the company or the business tries to identify who the customer is and then link that payment option with that customer and ensure that it's a genuine customer. That's the process of a card not present transaction. And would you like someone to use your card and shop on your behalf without you knowing it? I'm sure none of you would agree to that. So if there's an additional precaution that has been put in form of verified by Visa or a MasterCard secured code, as consumers, you're protected. Okay, if you're wearing a merchant's hat and you say, okay, because I have to remember this verified by Visa or a MasterCard secure code, transactions are dropping because consumers don't remember this verified by Visa or MasterCard secure code numbers. Well, there are consumers and there are consumers. The truth is that if you have a compelling proposition, okay, consumers will not worry about the payment option. The reason is that India is, Indians are spoiled for choice when it comes to payment options. You have credit cards, you have debit cards, you have net banking, you have cash cards, you have ATM cards, you have mobile phone, and now, of course, cash on delivery. You have this huge range of payment options available for you as consumers, and chances of choosing one over the other, you have multiple options, right? Okay, so you have to have an authentication protocol for each of these methods, which obviously is a problem. But the fact of the matter is, the average consumer, how much would you have? You would have a credit card or a net banking. We keep talking about, 6 credit cards, 40 net banking, 3 mobile phone payments, all these. Who's going to remember all these passwords? The fact of the matter is an average consumer is not using all these options. He's going to use 1 or 2 or 3 of these options. And it's upon the payment option to make sure that the end consumer's the process of authentication is very simple and easy. So if you break up the whole concept of authentication on the online, is it bad as a concept? Absolutely not. Because when it is there, you're actually protecting the end consumer and you're creating confidence in the ecosystem of payments.
Very often when we speak about the websites and we speak about an e-commerce transaction or an order being booked, please appreciate that there are 2 different events which are happening at that point in time. One is the information flow or the order flow, and the other piece is the payments flow. And both of them may or may not happen on the website for that transaction to get classified as e-commerce. So, and that's the reason why, Vivek also spoke about that, while having a net banking option and a payment gateway option and cash card option on the website is something which is highly desirable, because it makes sure that, whatever customers have come on the website are also fulfilling their transactions, and it's not only an order placement, because there could be subsequent dropouts when the product is going to get delivered as a cash on delivery, and a lot of customers tend to back out because at that point in time it may have been an impulse purchase, but they may have second views on that particular piece. So first of all, a lot of payment options exist with you in the e-commerce world as well. The second piece is that very often when we speak about credit card transactions being risky, I would say that today e-commerce transactions are possibly more secure than POS transactions at a merchant outlet. So today, when you are at a fuel outlet and when you present your card, at the time of making that payment once you've taken fuel, or you've given it at a restaurant, you never know what's happening with your card, right? Because India still hasn't graduated to an in-sight transaction, which is a handheld POS terminal being brought in front of you, and you're doing a card swipe, in front of you. So in fact, the offline scenarios at times of card payments could potentially be, far more riskier than e-commerce transactions, which thanks to RBI's mandate on second factor on 1st of August of 2009 has made the entire e-commerce channel much more secured than any of the other channels available to us in this space. So a lot of times, there are myths and perceptions that we carry, but when you actually probe it on a piece of paper and rationally break down where the issues are, you suddenly observe that while all this while we've been debating on non-issues,